My mother finally left my father and told him she regretted marrying him. It's the best thing to happen to me, and let me tell you why. To the outside world, my father, Jeff, was a titan. He was a real estate developer with a smile that could sell sand to a nomad and a suit collection worth more than my college tuition. He was the provider, the head of the household. My mother, Alina, she was the shadow. The quiet, mousy wife who nodded at his jokes, cleaned up his messes, and signed whatever papers he put in front of her. But the truth was much uglier. See, Jeff didn't come from money. Alina did. My grandfather had left my mother a massive inheritance, millions in stocks, bonds, and property. When they married 30 years ago, my father systematically dismantled her independence. He bullied her into joint accounts. He invested her money in his projects. He gaslighted her into believing she was too stupid to handle finances. And while he burned through her inheritance, he cheated. Constantly. I grew up watching my mother cry in the bathroom while my father came home smelling like cheap perfume and expensive scotch. Every time, she forgave him. Every time, he promised to change. Every time, he bought her a piece of jewelry with her own money and called it an apology. I hated her for it. I'm ashamed to admit that, but I did. I hated her weakness. I hated that she let this narcissist drain her dry and humiliate her. But I didn't know that Alina wasn't weak. She was just waiting. The final straw didn't happen in a scream-filled argument. It happened over a calm Tuesday dinner. I was visiting from the city. We were sitting at the long mahogany dining table, bought with Mom's money. My father tapped his glass. He looked excited. Manic, almost. Sophie, he said, beaming. I have some news. I've decided to expand the firm, and I'm bringing on a new partner. That's nice, dear, Mom said, cutting her chicken. And, he continued, since we're going to be working such long hours, and since the guest wing is just sitting empty, I've invited her to stay here during the transition. I dropped my fork. Her. The front door opened. My father had timed it perfectly. In walked Jessica. Jessica was 24. I was 26. She was his junior associate. She was wearing a dress that was inappropriate for a boardroom but perfect for a bedroom. She had that hungry look, the look of a girl who thought she had landed a whale. Hi, everyone, Jessica chirped, wheeling a Louis Vuitton suitcase into our foyer. Jeff has told me so much about you, Alina. I'm so excited to be part of the team. I looked at my father. He wasn't even hiding it. He was moving his mistress into the house. He was going to force my mother to live with the woman he was sleeping with, under the guise of business. Are you insane? I hissed at him. She's not staying here. It's my house, Sophie, my father snapped, his eyes cold. And Jessica is vital to my future. Your mother understands, don't you, Elle? He looked at Mom. Defy me, I dare you. I waited for Mom to cry. I waited for her to run to her room. Instead, Alina took a sip of water. She dabbed her mouth with a napkin. She looked at Jessica, then at Jeff. Of course, Jeff, she said softly. The guest wing is lovely this time of year. I'll have the maid turn down the bed. My jaw hit the floor. Jessica looked triumphant. Jeff looked like a king who had just conquered a new land. Good, Jeff said, pouring himself wine. I knew you'd be reasonable. Jessica, come sit, let's celebrate. I stood up. I'm not celebrating this. Mom, how can you let him do this? Sit down, Sophie, Mom said. Her voice wasn't weak. It was oddly flat. Your father is right. Jessica is part of the future. We should welcome her. I stormed out. I drove back to my apartment shaking with rage. I blocked my mother's number. I couldn't watch it anymore. I couldn't watch her be a doormat while my father played house with a girl younger than me. 2 weeks passed. I ignored my father's texts bragging about how well the arrangement was working. I ignored Jessica's Instagram posts, which were suddenly tagged at my childhood home. Poolside boss life new beginnings. Then, on a Friday morning, my mother showed up at my apartment door. She wasn't crying. She was wearing a trench coat and sunglasses. She looked like a spy from a bad movie. Sophie, she said, can I come in? I let her in, but I crossed my arms. If you're here to tell me how nice Jessica is, you can leave. Mom sat down on my couch. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick file folder. She placed it on the coffee table. I need you to sign this, she said. What is it? It's a transfer of power, she said, for the holding company. What holding company? Mom smiled. It wasn't her usual nervous, pleasing smile. It was a smile I had never seen before. It was sharp. It was dangerous. You think I've been stupid for 30 years, Sophie, she said. It wasn't a question. Mom, It's okay. Jeff thinks I'm stupid too. He thinks that because I let him sign the checks, he controls the money. She opened the file. Your grandfather was a paranoid man, Sophie. He didn't trust banks, and he certainly didn't trust husbands. When he left me the inheritance, he didn't give it to me directly. He put it into a revocable living trust. I frowned. But Dad spent it. He bought the house, the cars, the office building. He talks about his investments all the time. He thinks he bought them, Mom corrected. See, when Jeff wanted to buy the estate, I told him the bank required the deed to be in the name of the family trust for tax purposes. He signed it without reading it because he's arrogant and lazy. When he wanted to buy the commercial building for his firm, I told him the same thing. So the trust owns everything. Yes, Mom said. And do you know who the sole trustee is? She pointed to herself. Me, Jeff is a beneficiary by marriage, which means he has access to the assets only as long as he is married to me. But the moment I file for divorce, he loses access, I whispered. It gets better, Mom said, her eyes gleaming. Jeff has been investing for years. He's been moving money from the trust into his own private accounts to hide it from the IRS. He thinks he's clever. He calls it creative accounting. That's embezzlement, I said, and tax fraud. Exactly, Mom said. And since I am the trustee, I have a fiduciary duty to audit the accounts, which I did, yesterday. She pulled out a second document, a forensic accounting report. He has stolen $4 million from the trust over the last 10 years. He used it to buy gifts for his mistresses. He used it to fund Jessica's consulting fees. My heart was racing. Mom, what are you going to do? Jeff and Jessica left this morning for a business retreat in St. Bart's, Mom said, checking her watch. They land in 2 hours. While they are gone, I am changing the locks. I am freezing the accounts, and I am filing this. She held up a petition for divorce. But I need your help, Sophie. The trust has a clause. If the trustee becomes incapacitated or resigns, the power transfers to the beneficiary. Jeff has been trying to get me declared incompetent for years behind my back. He's been gaslighting me, hoping I'd crack so he could take full control. So what do we do? I am appointing a co-trustee, she said, sliding a pen toward me. Once you sign this, we both have to agree on any withdrawal over $1, even if he charms me, even if he threatens me. He can't get a dime without your signature. I looked at the woman sitting on my couch. She wasn't a doormat. She was a grandmaster who had been playing the long game for 3 decades. He moved his mistress into my house, Mom said softly. That was his mistake. He thought he had won. He thought I was broken. She looked up at me. I'm not broken, Sophie. I'm just finished. I picked up the pen. The weekend they were in St. Bart's was the busiest weekend of my life. While Jeff and Jessica were sipping mojitos on a beach, charged to a credit card that was about to be declined, Mom and I were at war. We hired a security team to secure the estate. We hired movers, but not to move Mom out. We moved him out. We packed every suit, every shoe, every tacky watch, and every piece of Jessica's clothing that she had moved into the guest wing. We didn't throw it on the lawn. That's amateur. We put it all in a storage unit in the worst part of town and paid for 1 month of rent. Then we went to his office. Since the building was owned by the trust, Mom had the keys. We walked in on Saturday morning. We took the hard drives. We took the files. We took the painting of himself he had hanging behind his desk. By Sunday night, the house was silent. It was clean. It felt lighter. Mom and I sat in the living room, drinking the bottle of scotch Jeff had been saving for his retirement. He lands at noon tomorrow, Mom said. He's going to come here first. Are you ready? I asked. I've been ready for 20 years, she said. Monday, 1:00 p.m. A black town car pulled up to the gate. I watched on the security monitor. Jeff was in the back seat with Jessica. They looked tan and happy. Jeff rolled down the window to punch in his code at the gate. Access denied. He tried again. Access denied. He frowned, saying something to the driver. Then he called the house landline. I picked up. Hello. Sophie, Jeff sounded annoyed. The gate is broken, buzz me in, and tell your mother to have lunch ready, we're starving. The gate isn't broken, Dad, I said, and there's no lunch. What are you talking about? Open the gate. The code has been changed, I said, because you don't live here anymore. Is this a joke? His voice rose. Put your mother on the phone. She's busy, I said, but she left a packet for you. It's taped to the front of the gate pillar. I suggest you read it. I hung up. On the monitor, I saw Jeff get out of the car. He was wearing a linen suit and a Panama hat. He looked ridiculous. He stormed over to the keypad and ripped the envelope off the stone. He opened it. I saw the moment his soul left his body. He read the first page, then the second. He started shaking. He turned to the car and yelled something at Jessica. She got out, looking confused. She grabbed the paper. Then Jeff ran to the gate. He started shaking it, screaming. Eleanor, you can't do this. I pressed the intercom button. Dad, I said, you're trespassing. Security is on the way. I suggest you leave. This is MY House, he screamed. I bought it, I paid for it. Check the deed, Jeff. Mom's voice came over the intercom. She was sitting next to me. It belongs to the Alina Vance Revocable Trust, and you are just a guest whose invitation has expired. I'll sue you, he roared. I'll take everything. With what money? Mom asked coolly. I froze the accounts this morning, all of them, even the ones in the Cayman Islands. Did you know that legally, since you funded those accounts with trust money, they belong to the trust? My lawyers are having a field day, Jeff. Jessica was reading the papers. She looked up at the camera. She realized what was happening faster than he did. She realized the credit cards were dead. She realized the sugar daddy was broke. Jeff, I heard Jessica say. What does this mean? What do they mean, frozen? Shut up, Jeff snapped at her. Alina, open this gate. We can talk about this. I'm sorry about Jessica. It was a mistake. I'll kick her out. Just open the gate. I looked at Mom. She didn't even flinch. It wasn't a mistake, Jeff, she said. It was a choice. Just like stealing my inheritance was a choice. Just like treating me like a servant was a choice. I made you who you are, he shouted. You were nothing without me. You were a shy little girl with too much money and no sense. I built this empire. You built a house of cards on my land, Mom said, and I just blew it down. A siren wailed in the distance. The private security patrol I had hired was approaching. Your stuff is at You Store It on 5th Street, I said. Unit 404. Key is under the mat at the facility office. You have 30 days before they auction it off. And Jeff, Mom added, the IRS agents are meeting you at your office at 3 p.m. I sent them the forensic audit. I thought you should know. Jeff dropped the papers. He looked at the gate, then at the approaching security car. He got back into the town car, but Jessica didn't. Jessica stood there with her suitcase. She looked at the car, then at the house. She pulled out her phone. A Uber pulled up 3 minutes later. She got in and left him there. The town car peeled away just as security arrived. Mom turned off the monitor. She took a deep breath. She didn't smile. She just closed her eyes. Is it over? I asked. No, she said. He's a narcissist. He won't go quietly. He'll try to hurt us. He'll try to destroy the reputation of the firm. He'll try to turn our friends against us. Let him try, I said. The next few months were ugly. Jeff stayed at a Motel 6. He tried to file emergency motions to access the funds, claiming Mom was mentally unstable. But Mom had the forensic audit. Every time he walked into a courtroom, her lawyers presented proof of tax fraud and embezzlement. No judge would touch him. He tried to go to the office, but the locks were changed, and the IRS had seized the computers. He tried to call their friends, the country club set, but Mom had already met with them. She showed the wives the pictures of Jessica living in their house. She showed the husbands the proof that Jeff had been trying to scam them on investment deals, which was true. He was running a mini Ponzi scheme to cover his debts. He was socially radioactive. But the final blow came 3 months later. Mom and I were having lunch at a bistro downtown. We were laughing. Mom looked 10 years younger. She was dating a retired history professor who treated her like gold. Suddenly, a shadow fell over our table. It was Jeff. He looked terrible. He had lost 30 pounds. His suit was wrinkled, probably because he was living out of a suitcase. He hadn't shaved in days. Alina, he rasped. The restaurant went quiet. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone knew the scandal. Jeff, Mom said, picking up her wine glass. You look tired. I have nothing, he hissed, leaning down. They took my license. The IRS took my pension. I'm sleeping in my car, Alina. Is that what you wanted? You have what you earned, Mom said. I want a settlement, he said, his voice shaking with suppressed rage. I want $5 million, cash, or I write a book. I tell them everything about your family, about your father. Mom laughed. It was a light, airy sound. My father was a paranoid old man, Jeff, but he was honest. Write the book. Nobody will buy it. I'm your husband, he shouted, slamming his hand on the table. You owe me. I gave you 30 years of my life. You took 30 years of my life, Mom corrected. You took my youth. You took my confidence. You took my trust. She stood up. She wasn't the mousy wife anymore. She was the Titan. I'm finalizing the divorce decree tomorrow, Jeff. My lawyers sent it to your... Oh, wait. You don't have an address. I'll have them send it to your car. Why? He whispered. Tears of frustration were welling in his eyes. Why did you wait so long? Why did you let me believe I was in charge? Because, Mom said, leaning in close so only he could hear. I wanted to see if you would ever change. I gave you every chance, Jeff. Every time you cheated, every time you stole. I waited. I hoped. She looked at me, then back at him. But then you brought that girl into my home. You tried to replace me in the house my father bought. And I realized, you don't just hate me, Jeff. You despise me. So I decided to show you what it actually looks like to be despised by me. I regret marrying you, he spat. Mom smiled. That's funny, she said. I told the judge the same thing, but at least I got a beautiful daughter and a very profitable portfolio out of it. You just got a criminal record. Security, the manager called out. 2 waiters stepped forward. Sir, you need to leave. Jeff looked around. He saw the stares. He saw the disgust. He looked at me. Sophie, I'm your father. You're a bad investment, Dad, I said, and we liquidated you. He was escorted out. I watched him go through the window. He stood on the sidewalk for a moment, looking at his reflection in the glass. He straightened his wrinkled jacket, trying to summon the old arrogance. But it was gone. He was just a small man in a big suit. Mom sat back down. She signaled the waiter. Could we see the dessert menu? She asked. Are you okay? I asked her. I'm fine, she said. Actually, I'm better than fine. Why? Because for the first time in 30 years, she said, looking at the empty space where he had stood. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not worried about what he thinks. I'm just free. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Jeff didn't get half. He didn't get alimony. Thanks to forensic accounting proving he had already stolen millions, more than his marital share, the judge ruled that he had essentially pre-spent his settlement. He walked away with $0. Actually, less than zero. He owed the IRS $1.2 million in back taxes and penalties. The last I heard, he moved to Florida to live with a distant cousin. He works at a car dealership now. Used cars. He tries to tell the customers that he used to be a tycoon, that he was robbed by a vindictive ex-wife. Sometimes people believe him. Most of the time, they just want to buy their Honda Civic and leave. As for us, Mom sold the estate. She said it had too many ghosts. She bought a penthouse in the city near me. She travels. She invests for real this time. She started a foundation for women who are victims of financial abuse. I run the holding company alongside her. One day, I was at Mom's penthouse helping her set up her new iPad. We were drinking coffee on the terrace. Do you ever miss him? I asked. It was the question I had been scared to ask. Mom looked out at the skyline. I miss who I thought he was, she said. I miss the illusion, but you can't build a life on an illusion, Sophie. She put her hand on mine. I regret marrying him, she said, echoing the words she told him that day. But I don't regret leaving him. It was the hardest thing I ever did, and the best. Why was it the best? I asked. Because, she smiled, it taught you that you never have to stay. It taught you that kindness isn't weakness. And it taught you that the quietest person in the room is usually the one holding the keys. She took a sip of her coffee. And besides, she winked, revenge is nice, but living well on his dime, that's paradise. I looked at my mother, the survivor, the mastermind, the silent partner who finally spoke up. And I realized she was right. It was the best thing to happen to me, because now I know exactly what kind of woman I want to be. And exactly what kind of man I will never, ever tolerate.